Hi, good evening. I am Mike Perlante, and on behalf of Dynaflex, I welcome you to tonight's webinar. The title of tonight's program is Why Your Orthodontic Website is Not Converting Inquiries into Consults. And again, we're joined by our good friend and contributor and the well-known Dr. Leon Klempner. Orthodontists all have a website, but is it doing what it should? Is it taking the visitor to the right places rapidly and getting them the right information for the next steps? Is it capturing leads? Is it responding rapidly? These are all the things that it should be doing. Well, the statistics are relatively dire, and I think we'll learn how dire in a minute or two from Dr. Klempner. Many of you know who he is. He has lectured and he has advised for some of the more pioneering orthodontic and tech companies in our space. But when it comes to this subject, he has become an authority through his work as the CEO and the co-founder of People and Practice. People and Practice is a full service marketing and consulting agency that works specifically with orthodontists. And his group there has access to a lot of data. And when you have that kind of data, it can then be explained to us what can be done to take the next steps to improve. And I'm pretty confident tonight that we're all going to learn something that will help us understand what can be done to improve the orthodontic website. Throughout the presentation, we really hope that you have some questions and some feedback. Please type those in to the chat box. We will see those throughout, and then we'll get to them at the end when Dr. Klempner wraps up. Last bit of housekeeping, this is going to be one CE credit from Dynaflex. You'll receive that CE within a week from the team here, and it'll come from a Dynaflex email. If you don't receive it, there's a chance that it winds up in that spam box, so please check there first. And then other than that, let's join Dr. Klempner now with why your website does not convert inquiries into consults.
Thanks, Mike, and welcome everyone. Appreciate everybody taking the time to come to this Dynaflex sponsored webinar. We're hoping to do a series of these, and I'm glad that you're able to make it. So today I'm going to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart, which has to do with orthodontic websites. So the title of today's presentation is Why Your Website Does Not Convert Inquiries into Consults. Most of you are probably not aware that only 2 to 3% of the prospective new patients actually schedule either a virtual or an in-house consultation with your practice after visiting your website. So my goal today is to help provide you with some of the tools to take a look at your website and hopefully tune it so that we can change this conversion rate to enable some more new patients to come into your practice. A little bit about me. If you don't know me, I am a board certified orthodontist. I practiced ortho for about 40 years before I sold my practice and retired in 2015, quote unquote retired, in order to go full-time with People in Practice, which is a digital marketing agency that my daughter Amy Epstein and I started way back in 2011. I graduated dental school from the University of Maryland, did my ortho at Tufts. I'm also part-time with the faculty at Harvard, so I spend a lot of time with residents, and I do some speaking for dental monitoring and Align technology. A little bit about People in Practice. I am an orthodontist. We built this primarily for orthodontists, but we have a number of dental practices that we represent as well. We have about 100 different offices across the US and Canada, and now in Australia as well. And we're composed of a team of 12 experienced marketers that come from different areas of different industries. So we bring a lot of perspective from a lot of different areas to the orthodontic and dental community. If you haven't had a chance to listen to our podcast, The Survival Guide for Orthodontists, you can download it on anywhere you get your content, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, etc. We have really good topical speakers, and there's a lot of content to consume if you have the time to do it. It's 30 minutes, goes quick, so we'll see you there. In terms of services from people in practice, just to round things out for you, we do provide a variety of different marketing services, but the heart of what we do, we call the People in Practice Engine, which are the 5 essential components of any good marketing campaign. So the first thing I'd like you to do is take a look and see if you're doing these things. If not, you need to begin doing them, because no one of these items are strong enough to stand on their own in terms of generating business for your practice. They work in conjunction with one another. And just quickly, lead generation has to do with building a database of people in your community that may be candidates either now or in the future. And that can be done with sweepstakes and contests in ways that are open not just to your patients, but to the community at large. This is a big omission that many practices don't understand, and that is we don't necessarily need to preach to the choir. We need to reach the area within a geo-fenced location around our practice. And secondarily, digital advertising is a way that we can get in front of our prospective new patients where they are, which typically is going to be Facebook, Google, Pinterest, or YouTube. And these platforms give us opportunities for us to reach those patients and get our brand and our message across. Email marketing is where we take all of those leads and we nurture them, meaning that we keep them involved with our practice. We want them to know who we are. This is part of pre-sales. So we want them already to feel that they're part of their practice, even though they've never come to our office before. Because you never know when that point is when they're in need of services, and we want to be top of mind. Social media content is pretty self-explanatory, but again, it gives your prospective new patients an opportunity to meet you and your team and your office before they come in. And this is very important so that they can get a feel of who you are and what you represent. And lastly, but certainly not least, is reputation management. Basically, more positive reviews online and fewer negative reviews. So we need to manage our reputation, because no matter what we do in marketing, it will boil down to somebody looking at your reviews. And you can have great marketing and great content, but when they go over and click and look at reviews and see what other patients have said about you that are already engaged, that could either be a big plus or it could be a big negative. In addition to the marketing, we do websites, and we'll talk a lot about that tonight. SEO, which is visibility for your website if needed, transition communications, bringing on an associate, selling a practice, adding a new office, branding, logo development and design, and treatment coordinator training to increase your conversions. So let's get back to it here. It's an astonishing number, but it's true. 2.9% of visitors actually schedule an appointment. And that is something that is little known and is something that we need to address. And how do we address that? Well, we need to optimize our website for conversion. I'm going to give you some steps to do that. But that's not enough. We also need something to generate leads through the website via a chat. We need to engage our visitors and be able to provide them with information they need, as well as answer some of their questions in a timely way. And we, of course, need to send people to the website. It's of no use to have a great optimized website with a lead generating chat with all the bells and whistles and then have nobody visit it. So the marketing is what drives the funnel. But ultimately, the website and the chat are what will deliver the qualified consultations. So let's take out your pencil and let's do a little audit. I want you, when you get back to your office, pull up your website and let's take a look at it through the eyes of a new patient. Number one, these are things that drive me crazy, and I just listed a few of them based on the time that we have together. But I want you to take a look and see if your website might benefit from tweaking some of these issues. So, too many pop-ups. I see orthodontic websites competing for the new patient's attention, and that's not good. We don't want to pull them in different directions. We want to lead them down a path. The website is about leading them down a path. And if you take a look at your mobile appearance of your website on your mobile device, too many pop-ups often block each other out and totally defeat the purpose. So take a look at that. Also take a look at the call to action, which is the schedule the appointment, call the office, set up a virtual, whatever it is. That call to action should be available on every lead page that you have. So we always want to give them the opportunity to schedule that appointment. And all of the call to actions should be above the fold. Well, that's an old time term that certainly was around in my day, but for those of you who don't know what that means is if you can envision reading a newspaper and folding it, above the fold in digital terms means that you don't need to scroll down to see it. So we want it in the top half, so that a patient doesn't have to go looking for it or scroll down to find the call to action. The other thing is, we as dentists and orthodontists spend a lot of money on advertising and driving people from the advertising platform, whether it be Facebook or Google or Pinterest, and bringing them to the website. But the topic that they're interested in, the quote unquote hook that they click on in the ad, has oftentimes no relevance and no content on the website. So we want to take people from the ad to the content that they're interested in. If they don't see the content they're interested in, you lose them. So if they're interested in early treatment and you click them to your website, which is highlighting aligner therapy, you're off the mark. So if they click on early treatment, take them to information about how you are the expert in early treatment. If they click on clear aligner therapy, take them to a place where your office focuses on clear aligner therapy, that type of thing. And also, you have about 8 seconds to engage them. This is called the bounce rate, and it has an effect on your SEO as well. So you can't expect patients to spend too much time on your website if they're not getting what they're looking for. And just from an IT standpoint, a 1 second delay in a screen changing can lower your conversion rate by almost 10%. So give me a minute to kind of get nerdy a little bit without getting too deep into it, to talk a little bit about what we call the user interface. and the user experience, two important terms in website development. And I'm going to use a metaphor of horseback riding just because I couldn't think of anything better. But so bear with me. When we talk about user interface, we talk about how the website looks, the aesthetics of the website, the functionality of the website, how easy it is to navigate around. When you click on a button, does it work? How fast does it work? Basically, what we're talking about is, the structural integrity of the website, the functionality. When you click, does it work? Does it look good? That type of thing. How fast it goes. So if we use the metaphor of horseback riding, the user interface is the reins, the saddle, the stirrups, how you navigate around. These are very important features. And to be honest, most orthodontists spend a lot of time on this, understandably so, but you also have to pay an equal amount of attention to the user experience, the UX. The user experience is how your end user, potential new patient, feels about the website. Is it telling them a story? Is it solving their problem? Is it giving them the content they're looking for? How are they experiencing the website in terms of a feeling level? And this is very, very important. And to use that metaphor, it's how you feel while you're riding. You feel free, you feel open, you feel in control. If the wind is blowing, whatever it is, that feeling is equally as important as um, the interface of how your website navigates or what color it is or how pretty it looks, things like that. So to put it all together, the production funnel starts with marketing so that we can generate volume and direct it to the website. This is another area that I see a lot of practices, a lot of practice websites aren't paying attention to, and that is, where are they sending their patients with their marketing? And sometimes it's to a third-party site, something that's off-brand. It may give them some information, but it takes them away from your website. That's the last thing you want to do. You want to generate traffic to the website. It helps with your SEO as well, but more importantly, it gives you enough people to market to and to help tell your story to, that will ultimately end up in a consult. That's the goal. So from the marketing to the website, the call to action, in this case, I'm strongly suggesting a website, a chatbot that allows you to communicate with that patient in real time so that you can answer any simple questions and you can move them along the funnel to ultimately end up in a consultation in your office. Lead response. Look at this. Contacting your patient, an interested patient that comes onto your website that wants to move forward. If contacting them within 5 minutes is 21 times more effective than waiting 30 minutes. 30-minute response time is not bad, but if you can connect with them once they're on your website and they're interested, if you can connect with them within 5 minutes, you have a 21 times better chance that you'll engage them and they'll bring them into the office than if you waited simply 30 minutes, much less one day, much less a week, which we sometimes see. So this is another touch point that I want you to pay attention to. How long does it take your TC or your office to contact a patient that is interested in moving forward? So take a look at that. And any mechanism you could put into accelerating that will increase your conversion rate. Back to the production funnel. optimized website, lead generating chat, targeted local online marketing to bring people there. So let's take a look at an example. So this is Dr. Rick Bruno's website that's currently in production. And let's take a look at it and let's break down some of the features and some of the things that you could look at and compare them to, so that we can see what an optimized website actually looks like. So first thing, on the home page, we call this the hero page, and this could be a still, but it needs to be high quality. You could see it's not blurry, it's crisp, it's clear. It could be a video, but more importantly, if you take a look at the website itself, there are certain key features that make this important. You see some of the call to actions, scheduling, in-person or virtual. Dr. Bruno does a lot of virtual assessments. It's clean, it's easy to navigate, it's easy to contact via telephone. If you slide down a little bit, scroll down on the website, you'll see a section that's called What Sets Us Apart. This is where your differentiators are. Don't forget, you're competing against your colleagues in your community. They're colleagues of yours, but they're also your competition. So people are looking, why should I choose your practice as opposed to someone else's practice? So you need to spell it out to them. You need to tell them exactly what is setting you apart. And in this case, after some deliberation and discussion with Dr. Bruno and his staff, these were the core areas of differentiator for this particular practice. They focus on the technology, 3D. So we want patients to know that, and they could learn more by clicking. They offer virtual appointments. You know, in this age of COVID, and we've learned a lot. And one of the things we've learned is that some people prefer to minimize their time in your office. So we want to give them opportunities to connect with you virtually. So there's that segment that's set up on the website. Dr. Bruno also focuses on the orthopedics and the growth and development. We want new patients to know about that. And they have transparent pricing. Now, this is something that is foreign to a lot of dental and orthodontic practices, but this is what patients are looking for. You know, if you're willing to put out something about your pricing other than you have to come in order to find out, it gives you an advantage. And it weeds out those that are find it not affordable. Let's slide down a little bit more on the home page, and you could see how we set this up for Dr. Bruno because he wanted to have some tiered pricing and have a less expensive fee for the very easy cases and a more costly fee for the more comprehensive cases. New patients understand that. They understand that, you know, more complexity gives the practitioner an entitlement to a higher fee. But they also understand that if it's a minor, simple case, moving one tooth here or there, that they shouldn't have to pay the same as a complex case. And you could see this level 1, which is 6 months or less, 5 and upper lower aligners. And this is, incidentally, if I could give a shout out to Dynaflex at this point, this is where you need to pay attention to your overhead. This is where you can't offer something like this if you're going to have a lab that's going to charge you $1,800 or $1,500 for that matter. You need to work with a lab that will give you the opportunity to scale based on volume and based on complexity. So, you know, using the Dynaflex aligners, you can afford to be highly profitable in this 2250 range for this very easy case by paying a low lab fee. So this tiered pricing is something we're seeing practices that we manage do very, very well. And it's not a lot of resources that are taxed in order to do this. I talked about the call to action. Let me spend a little time on that because it's critical. And an optimized website focuses on a call to action because we want to lead that patient in our direction down the road towards an in-house consultation. That's the goal. So certainly right here on the home page, they have the opportunity to schedule an appointment. There are many opportunities to do that on the page. They could do it in person and they could do it virtually. But take a look at this. On this one section alone, there are 7 opportunities without it being cluttered, without it being forced in front of you, without a lot of pop-ups competing for attention. It's subtle, but it's available. So they could send photos. They can come in and schedule an in-person consultation. There's an opportunity to contact us by chat, number 3. Or number 4, they can make an easy phone call. Get in touch with us. Some patients see that and they gravitate to that. Number 6 gives us the traditional modalities, including the phone number on the bottom. But take a look at number 7, because this is key. This is key because this is who we're after. And if I showed you this live, you would see that new patient special offer number 7, pulsing. Because we want to draw the new patient to that particular area. Because when they click that, they're going to get a chat box that opens up and a chat bot that initially is automated, that enables a new patient to come down a path where they're incentivized to schedule their appointment. So if they are a patient considering treatment, now if they click that they're already a patient, we'll take them to a form that allows them to contact the practice directly. But if they're considering treatment and they click that, they're taken to a follow-up, which tells them, this is great, we really love that, but we have a special offer for you. And this is true. Just by chatting, we're both saving valuable time. So you've just earned, and Dr. Bruno chose 250. You can pick whatever number you want, but there is an incentive towards treatment. And if they use the promo code, they'll get a credit. So as they move down this funnel, they're given the opportunity to click to schedule a virtual, click to schedule an in-person, or if they have a question, click there where we can connect them directly to the practice at that point. If they click they want a virtual appointment, they're taken to the virtual assessment page where they can use their phone to scan a QR code and go ahead and load their pictures. And you'll see at the bottom after they've loaded their photos, and you can ask, this is customizable, so you can ask for insurance information if you'd like, or the reason that they're coming, whether they prefer aligners or clear or metal braces. But at the bottom, there's a spot for the promo code where they could put in their 250 code that's there. And if they choose they want to come in person, well, they have a form as well. Same way, they can put what day works best, what time works best, what their goals are. And again, this doesn't have to fit into your practice schedule. We're just asking them what time works best for them. It's a starting point. If that time's not available, when we contact them in a timely way, by the way, we could see what does work. Oh, that might not, that time's no longer available. Will 10:30 work for you? Will 8 o'clock work for you? It gives you an entry point and a point to discuss what's the best way and what works best for them. And remember, contacting within 5 minutes is 21 times more effective. So we want to connect soon. As soon as this comes through, the quicker we can reach out, the more effective you're going to be. So I'm just going inside your head right now. And if I were sitting in your shoes and if I were listening to me on the other end, I'd say, whoa, how are we going to do this? This is too much. We're busy. You know, we have consults. We have patients coming every 15 minutes. Our staff is already taxed. And now you're asking us to connect with a new patient inquiry within 5 minutes? You got to be kidding me. We don't have a mechanism to do that. And I get it. And that's a problem that we've been working on at People in Practice for a long time. And we know that we need a way to manage the in-office consults, the virtual consults with images, the medical histories that people send. We also need a way to manage our reviews, be able to see what people are saying about us and to respond as well as general questions that either new patients or current patients might have. So how do we manage that? Well, we developed a dashboard for you. And as part of our website and part of our chatbot is an integrated dashboard. Uh, and your front desk or your TC could manage this. You'll get an alert um, every time that a new patient is requesting either a question or an appointment, and you'll have an opportunity to address it right from the dashboard. So you could see when we contact the patient, we can talk about how you know, my 12-year-old inherited certain issues, or number two is I'm looking to fix a crossbite. So they give us information about why they're calling, which is very important for the TC or the front desk to know so that they can engage the patient in the conversation and take it from there. They also know what days of the week work best and what times work best. And as importantly, we know what type of appliances they want. And if you take a look at the promo code in the middle, and you could see that out of, you know, within this 2-day span, day and a half span or so, where these 6 new patients are requesting consultations, 4 of the 6 have that promo code put in there. It incentivized them. It helped them move forward. And what about the virtual? Same thing. There's a section on the dashboard where all the virtual uh, um, requests come in, and all of the photos are available here as well. So you can open up the photos, take a look at them, get a feel for the case. So everything is here for you, including insurance information if you want it, as well as what type of appliances. And again, you can see how popular the promo code is. One of the things that we're working on at People in Practice, and we'll release it probably in Q1 of next year, is actually doing this for you, DFY, meaning that we'll take it from the chat and respond within minutes in order to engage the new patient for you. And we feel that this is solving a huge problem and providing a really good solution, because it will give us an opportunity to vet and qualify the inquiries. And we do this with experienced TCs. So this is not a chatbot. This is not an online receptionist. these are experienced TCs that work for people in practice that we've trained to respond and engage and qualify. And by doing so, it serves a number of purposes. As an orthodontist, for me, the biggest one would be keep people that either can't afford it or are not that interested out of my office and not taking up a slot with my TC. So it vets those. And if they're not a match, they're not a match. But on the other hand, it also serves up qualified leads. These are people that are interested. They know approximately what the fee is because our TCs are briefed on that. So our TCs can talk about treatment, they could talk about fees, all under the umbrella of information that they've gathered from a consultation with the dentist or orthodontist. So bottom line here is we can improve your conversion rate without you wasting valuable time. So this is, we call it Conversion Plus. It's one of those add-ons that you saw to our marketing. And we feel that it's going to be an extremely valuable service for orthodontists. So questions I always get is, okay, so, can you show me results of this? It sounds great, but, I've heard this stuff before. Well, let's take a look at some. These are all clients of ours. Some of them longer term, some of them shorter term. Dale Davis has been with us quite a while with their practice in Midland. And their practice grew from 1.7 million to 2.8 million after working with people in practice. Dr. Gottry, who's got a pedo ortho practice that joined us, grew over 200,000 year over year despite being closed 2 months during COVID. I showed you Dr. Bruno's website in production, and in 2020, his practice grew over $250,000 during the pandemic after just joining our practice. Now, production and results take time in marketing. This doesn't happen in day one. It takes months to put things into play. So I just want you to understand, I'm showing you these, but this doesn't happen in overnight. We need to plant the seeds, and we need to do the watering, and we know how to do it. So let's get back, just give you a quick overview. Pay attention to taking a look at your website. Do you have too many pop-ups? How does it look on mobile? Do you have call to action on every lead page? Is it above the fold? Do they have to scroll or look for it? Are there targeted pages that come from your advertising? Do you have 8 seconds to engage? 1 second delay? Check these out on your website and see if you need to do some tweaking and some work on it. So from our perspective, we have a strong relationship with Dynaflex. I've been a client of Dynaflex when I was in practice. I've lectured for Dynaflex in the past, so I feel a certain allegiance to the company. It's progressive. It's the company that I would use personally. So at People in Practice, we want to partner with them. And one way of doing so is we're offering a 20% courtesy if you're a Dynaflex client. And we're lowering the fee, giving a $1,500 credit. So for $6,000, which can be split into 2 payments, we're providing the optimized website, customized to your practice. We're including the integrated chatbot. We're including HIPAA compliant forms, so you can add your medical history or your check-in forms. And we're including the dashboard. So all of that, $6,000 if you're a Dynaflex client. Here's how to reach me. I've got both my email address, leon@pplpractice.com. I also have my cell phone, 631-974-7511. Feel free to pick up the phone. call me, chat me, email me. I'll be happy to answer any questions, personal questions you might have. But at this point, I'd like to take a few minutes to regroup, and then we'll open it back up again, and we'll take your questions, because I know that typically I gave you a lot of information. If you have questions about anything I've discussed, we'll address them in a few moments. Thanks again for listening.
All right. Do we have Dr. Klempner with us?
Hello.
All right. No video, but we have you on audio, it looks like.
Okay, I'm here.
Well, thank you. That was great. A really solid overarching view and suggestions to what can be done. And there are a couple questions that came through. I just wanted to hit upon a few things because we were talking about this being a full pipeline to get people to the website as well as having it perform correctly when it's there. Yeah, I always think about like any kind of professional that I look into, I usually start with Google reviews. And, most importantly, the amount and obviously a high rating. How are you suggesting to either orthodontists that haven't spent a long time getting Google reviews, and then even younger orthodontists that are new and the practice is not mature yet? How are you working with them to either expedite quickly the Google reviews that'll help get people to the website, or automate it? What are you doing to advise those type of practices?
That's a great question and a really important one. And one of the first pieces of software that we developed was a reputation management system. And whether you use ours or whether you use any of the available ones out there, I think it's very important that you or our listeners understand that you need a systematic approach if you want to really be successful with reputation management. Relying on you or your staff to ask patients for reviews typically will result in a few, but after a while, you don't see the same result as you would if you had a system in place that automates things. So with our system, we have a way of getting feedback from clients after the visit. After patients that come to you, they get a text, how was your experience? And this is all internal feedback. None of it's public. But we ask for a rating of 1 to 5 and some comments. And if we find that somebody's not happy about something, then you'll get an automated alert in real time to let you know, Mrs. Jones is not happy, this is why. And then we walk you through the process of how to pick up the phone at the end of the day, let Mrs. Jones know that she's been heard, what you're going to do about it. Just basically mitigate the situation so Mrs. Jones doesn't take her unhappiness publicly. So we want to mitigate the negative, but at the same time, 90% of your patients are going to give you 5-star feedback. And with those, we'll lead them directly to a path where they could leave you a Google review just by clicking, and it will paste your comments into the public review sites. And then all you do is sit back and you just watch the Google reviews populate. And at the same time, on occasion, you'll learn how you can improve your practice by finding out what people are not happy about. But that stays internal. So you need a system is the answer.
Got it. We have some questions coming up about chat, and I actually have a follow-up question. It's regarding contacting the patients. But you had mentioned the TC response service, and are your services a la carte? Is that something that a practice that has a lot of systems in place could purchase, that type of response service separately? And or is it a package deal when somebody signs on with people in practice?
Well, it's interesting because we just had a discussion about that earlier today. It currently is integrated into the website, where they can opt to choose to involve personal TCs in real time. But we're also working on some a la carte mechanisms that in the first quarter of next year we'll probably unveil. So if anybody is interested in that, I would recommend that they contact me, and I could at least put them on a list, or we can have a discussion about what is best for them. But yeah,
Mhm.
we're looking at a number of different ways because this is a big pain point for orthodontists, and you could see the benefit in terms of real-time response, but it's not just responding, it's responding with experienced TCs that could represent your practice, answer questions, and follow them along to the consultation. So
Yeah.
we'll have a number of different ways of doing it.
No, you're right. And with chat, there are you have the bot. There's also services out there that have the scripting. I'm curious, if there's certain practices that get to a point where you tell them, okay, you have either enough bandwidth or revenue that you may want to pull in live, trained, skilled, scripted staff people to do some chat. You had a stat up there. I think it was if the person that is on the chatbot that is contacted within 5 minutes, they're 21 times more likely to convert. There's actually another one I saw recently that if they're contacted within 60 seconds, it's like over 300%. And I'm curious about. It sounds like this TC program may be something that would cover this, but how are you advising the clients, telling like either whether they're hiring or who are they training to not just respond rapidly, but also the right type of scripting and sales and methodology to get those patients in for a consult?
Yeah, I mean, the rapid response via text is the most effective. Take
Hmm.
him off the chat bot and to a human in real time. But it's the experience of who they're connecting to that makes the difference. It's a sales position. It's a TC position. It's not just an answering service.
Hmm.
So the dashboard gives you the mechanism of doing it. That's the technology. We provide that right now, but you need to implement it, and you need to implement it with somebody that can respond in real time. Therein lies the issue for most ortho practices, because their TC, quote unquote, salesperson, are busy with in-house consultations,
Hmm.
and they don't have time to respond in real time. The other function of an experienced, uh, uh, someone experienced answering those chats in real time, is that they could weed out the tire kickers and the people that are not really good candidates for your particular practice. That takes some skill. So it's not just a matter of scripting. You really need somebody that has, the able to read the affect and all the qualities of a good TC. So
Hmm.
this is such an important role. This is the lifeblood of the practice. Yet, this conversion, we're talking about conversion of visitors to consult, is something that orthos don't look at. And it's just as important as the conversion of an in-house consult to a start.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. You know, the term tire kicker and just the return on time of if you can eliminate the um, the tire kickers. I mean that investment alone and being able to you know have them spend time on you know they're all leads, but the real hot or qualified leads, and being
Yep.
able to get to that point in a conversation where you can really determine whether or not they're a qualified lead is a skill, and it is something that would require quite a bit of training, and it would be interesting to see how they are trained.
Yep.
Um,
Well, we train them, so we know how good ours are, and you know, qualifying is a really good word for it, because if you can imagine, if you bring in everybody, and that's currently what we try to do typically, a certain percentage right from the get-go are not going to be a good fit for the practice. Yet they'll spend an hour of time with the TC. You'll take photos, you'll take pictures. Sometimes you'll take a scan. Sometimes you'll take a radiograph. The doctor will come in, will present a treatment plan. And you know, and then you know, they're just not, you know, well, I can't afford that. That's too much money, and they leave. What a waste of time and resource. So if we could do that without having to bring them in, that's what we call pre-sale. That's the value that I think this brings to an ortho practice.
no, very true. So where is like if somebody is just either overwhelmed um, and doesn't have the whole pipeline in place, you know, the website is you know one aspect of it, but you know where do you start with an account that you're taking on as a client that may ask for like one thing, like, hey, I need help with my social media. You know, how do you have that conversation with them that, well, we can do that, but you really have to put all of these other pieces in place. You know, where do you start? Like, where does that conversation start? And then how do you advise them to take the right steps to have like a full strategy that includes content and everything else that's required, not just having a good site.
Yeah, well, you know, it comes from a conversation that I'll have with the doctor, and learning about the practice and seeing what is going on, what's working, what's not working, what have they tried, what are their goals, to be specific, what we've learned over the years when we've tried to piecemeal out the different elements of what we call the people in practice engine, those core 5 elements that I talk about at the beginning of the webinar. When we try to parse those out and just do social media, or I only want Facebook ads, or I only want reputation management, it doesn't work. It's a
Mhm.
waste of time and it's a waste of money. You need to have all of those elements because they work in conjunction with one another. The pathway to a new patient is not linear. There are multiple touch points, and patients, the new prospective new patients, go through those touch points. So it's not just the website. And if you have poor reviews, that's it. If you're not doing lead generation and email follow up and marketing, you're missing a huge percentage of the population. So
Mhm.
you need to kind of tie it all together, and that's basically what we try to do.
Yeah, you had one of the example websites up there that had the different pricing structures. And in our last conversation, we were talking about taking those mild and moderate cases back, and the fact that there are just you know millions of potential patients out there that could use some sort of retreatment or a handful of aligners, and they're not walking into the orthodontic office because they think it's just going to be too expensive, and they are considering all of these others. How are they? How are? What's the best way for them to um, create those target audiences for those different messages, and then get them to the right spot on the website so that they, you know, they can tell the difference between what they'll be getting and what it's going to cost them.
Well, you know, I mean, it's not rocket science. I mean, patients generally want to have an idea of what's involved. And, you know, a lot of times, and it's done through advertising. You know, typically most orthodontists don't charge full fee for every single case. If they have an easy retreat case that's going to be 5 aligners or whatever, they're not charging $5,000 or $6,000 typically. They're charging $3,000, $3,500, $2,500, whatever they feel they can make a profit on and still cover their expenses. You know, that's what they're doing. The problem is that it's a secret.
Right.
Nobody knows that. Patients in the practice, moms in the practice, they don't know that that's an option. They think it's going to cost the same as it costs their son for treatment if they want retreatment, or they're concerned about a little space or a crooked tooth. They don't know any different, so they assume that it's a high fee. Then they're bombarded with direct-to-consumer advertising that's telling them that if you go to the orthodontist, you're going to pay triple the fee. So now they're getting a dose of that in advertising. They already believe that their orthodontist is, you know, that every case is going to be $5,000 or $6,000, so they don't come to you. So we have to dispel that myth, and it is a myth, and we have to open it up and let prospective new patients know that, hey, if it's an easy case, it's going to be less expensive. Let's come in and let's talk about it. So it just opens up the conversation that ordinarily wouldn't exist because of the advertising and the perception that we're, you know, overcharging, or you know, all fees are the same.
Are you getting pushback when you're suggesting that they, don't make it a secret?
You mean from the orthodontists?
Hmm.
I get
Yeah.
pushback all the time, of course. You know, there are some of my colleagues that believe that no matter what the case looks like, they should be charging $6,000 or $7,000 because that's what they're worth, and all more power to them. You know, I have no problem with that. However, if you want to grow your practice, there are other ways of doing it. And you know, they hire me because they want to increase their productivity, and this is how you increase your productivity. You treat more cases, and you have a fair fee for what you're doing. So yeah, there's pushback, but yeah, in general, it you know, if you do what's best for the patients, it's best for the practice as well.
Hmm. We've kept you long enough. Is there actually, a selfish question? I feel like every once in a while I'll hear that some algorithm changes in either Google or Facebook, and that everything that was working before kind of needs to be altered. Is anything coming up on the horizon, or have you seen a lot of big changes through Facebook and Google PPC over the last 6 months? And how do you keep up with all of that so that you're not missing a beat when it comes to ad spend?
Well, you know, we have 12 full-time people, and we have, you know, people that are just monitoring Facebook and Facebook ads and the changes. Somebody that somebody else that's dealing with Google and their changes, and um, things change on a daily basis. Yeah,
Hmm.
you know, much less 6-month basis. It's a very complex game out there, and it requires algorithms, A/B testing. It's gotten very sophisticated. So it's not just a matter of, and I know there are orthos there that say, well, I could do my own Facebook, or I could do my own Google. I said, well, at some point I did my own retainers as well. But then there came a point where it made sense for me to be putting braces on and hiring somebody like Dynaflex to make the appliances at a much more cost-effective and more effective way than I could do it. And it's the same with digital marketing. It's gotten beyond the scope of, you know, oh, Sally's good at Facebook. Let me give her my $3 million practice and let her manage my marketing. It makes no sense. So you need expertise, and whether it's people in practice or another agency, if you want to stay on top of your marketing, you need to have people that are doing it full time.
Right. Well said. Well, on that note, we're appreciative of spending some time with you here tonight and having everybody else join in. Now that some in-person meetings are coming back, we're really thrilled because we spent some time traveling this fall, and I felt like the orthodontic community was really happy to be back in person. Are you going to be at any upcoming events and speaking at any upcoming events in the near future?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Yep, there's a meeting in Aruba that I'll be attending with my partner, Amy, talking about all the disruption in the orthodontic industry and ways that we can adapt and position ourselves for the future. So if anybody's interested, they could email me or they could just Google the bottom line, Aruba, and there'll be a discount code for people in practice. If you use people in practice as your referral, I believe there's a $300 discount for that.
What is
We'll
it?
be, yes, it's,
What
I'm
bottom?
sorry, the bottom line is Terry Selke's website that is housing the registration. So
Got
if
it.
you Google the bottom line, or Terry Selke, or contact me directly, I'll send you the link and the discount codes as well. Should be a very interesting meeting. And then we'll be at the AAO meeting lecturing. We hope to be in St. Louis, maybe setting something up at the new Dynaflex facilities. Congratulations on that. So yeah, we'll be around.
Great. We look forward to all of that. And until the next time, thank you and have a great Thanksgiving with your family. And thanks for everybody tuning in tonight. Until next time, have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.